Alan Dershowitz is known as a great Jewish thinker. I haven't agreed with a lot of things he said in the past, even on this channel, but we're going to give another clip, another chance. I'm Tyler Travenclatt, your favorite white colonizer. Let's take a look.
My first question to you, I guess, is when we asked you what the topic should be, you chose the new anti-Semitism.
That's right.
Now, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs famously said that anti-Semitism is like a cancer. It mutates into one form of another.
That's right.
And as a good yeshiva boy, you know the Torah tells us that the war against Amalek, against evil, will go on from generation to generation. And in 2 weeks, we have the holiday of Purim that we're going to remember Haman, who tried to annihilate the Jewish people 2,500 years ago.
So would you a bit too far?
There you go. So please, if you could elaborate on what you mean when you say we're facing a new anti-Semitism. What is new?
Anti-Semitism is as old as recorded history and maybe older than that. But anti-Semitism is brilliant, like viruses. It mutates. It figures out what the environment is, and then it goes after those elements of the environment that can most contribute to the hatred of anti-Semitism. So if you go back to, for example, the period of the beginning of Christianity, Jews killed Jesus. That was the beginning of anti-Semitism. Then Jews poisoned the wells because there was sickness in Europe. Then Jews were communists. Then Jews were fascists. Then Jews were this, Jews were that. Today, of course, there's a whole new vocabulary, and we've heard talk about that. And Jews are now guilty of the worst sins of the second quarter of the 21st century. The crimes, the sins of genocide, of apartheid, of being privileged, of violating the rules of intersectionality. There's a whole new vocabulary that has emerged, but it's the same. It just uses current language, which makes it very popular among young, impressionable college and university students.
Yep.
I want to start by disagreeing a little bit with the prior panel. I learned a great deal from the prior panel. And I think it's wonderful that we attack the extremists, we arrest those who violate the law, we don't expand the First Amendment beyond what its initial intention was, and we go after the people that this panel said we should go after. But that is not the core of the problem. The core of the problem is mainstream university teaching, all protected by the First Amendment, all protected by academic freedom, and impossible to go after as a law enforcement issue. The bad news is that the current academic canon, what is being taught at major universities, and let me tell you, I know a little about this. I've been in higher education now, you're going to wonder about my statement, 70 years. I started out in college in 1955. I was the president of the student government at Brooklyn College. I was then editor-in-chief of the Yale Law Journal. I then became the youngest professor in the history of Harvard Law School. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about the academic canon. What is being taught today, not by extremists, but by your children's friends, by your friends' children, by mainstream academics, by Jewish academics, by academics who in shul call themselves Zionists, but out of shul won't defend Israel. What is being taught today on college campuses as part of mainstream courses is the essence of anti-Semitism. Students are learning anti-Semitism in virtually every class, every course, and in every lecture. Today, I'm just going to make a list of things that are going on in American universities today, and they will be familiar to you. And if I continued and read you the whole list, I think we would be going into the next panel. But Jews are accused of having privilege. That's a dirty word, having privilege. Jews are accused of being successful. Oh my God, success? No, we don't want meritocracy in our schools. We want DEI. We want diversity, equity, and inclusion, but certainly not meritocracy. Everything that Jews are good at, we are attacked for. What is the group in America that has most benefited through meritocracy? Obviously, it's been Jews. What is the country in the world that is most benefited by meritocracy? Tiny little country the size of New Jersey with no oil and no resources. That's the country of meritocracy. That's startup nation. So privilege, intersectionality, critical race theory, which is uncritical race theory. You can't criticize race theory. DEI, race-based affirmative action, internationalism, relating to the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, the United Nations. Selective anti-nationalism. We hate nationalism except when it's Palestinian nationalism. That we support. Selective nationalism. Palestinianism, which means that the only rights that are recognized on college campus today are the rights of Palestinian people. You never hear about the Kurds. You never hear about the Tatars. You never hear about the Uyghurs. You never hear about any group. It's only Palestinianism, which is simply another word of describing anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Orientalism, a phrase concocted by Edward.
I'm gonna make a break here on Alan's speech, and I want you guys to watch a full speech. It'll be linked in the description below. It should be on YouTube. And I want to talk about that specific point he was talking about because I think it's the one thing I can expand about the most. Is this idea
Saeed at Columbia
of what he said here about Palestinianism? I think it's the most fascinating part.
Today are the rights of Palestinian people. You never hear about the Kurds. You never hear about the Tatars. You never hear about the Uyghurs. You never hear about any group. It's only...
Okay, I'll cut him off here. If you're just coming across my videos for the first time now and you've never heard of me, you've never seen me before, today, hi. I'm a Mizrahi Jew, which are Jews who were ethnically cleansed from countries in the Middle East and North Africa and ended up in Israel as refugees. So my family came from a mix of Iraq, Iran, Turkey, a few other countries that were mixed in between in their diasporic experience. But I find it really, really fascinating that the sort of moral left in America and the students who fight for justice of all people and equality somehow forget, and I think this is a racial bias, I will openly call people who do this racist, they forget that the Middle East is not all Arab. They forget about the Arab colonialist project that ended up in the Middle East the way that it is today. They forget that there's still today Chaldeans, Mandeans, Amazigh, Assyrians, Kurdish, Armenians, people fighting in the Middle East day in, day out to survive, Yazidis, fighting for their independence, fighting for their survival every single day, being oppressed at the boot of the Arab Muslim overlords, the supremacists that run this region. Israel is literally the one and only example of not just the non-colonial movement, the only nation-backed indigenous movement that's been able to self-determine in the Middle East. It's the only one. And that's why it's a big fuck you to the entire Arab world they don't know what to do with us. They don't know how to deal with us because we're powerful and we're fighting and we're unwilling to leave this land. And they don't know what to do with that because we're the only ones they haven't been able to fully oppress. They oppressed us in the past, but we're the ones who rose up. Now, if you want me to take you seriously as an advocate, right, an advocate for equality, for peace, you want me to get on your side. You want me to be attentive to what you're saying. You're espousing free Palestine from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Great. What about everyone else? No, for real. This isn't a whataboutism, but what about everyone else? Are Palestinians Arabs? Because that's what we usually say that they are. And that's what the general understanding is. But when it gets into the nuance of it, they're allowed to be everything and anything at all at once. They're allowed to both be people who came from the Arabian Peninsula as Arabs, and they're also allowed to be a mix of Philistine, Phoenicians, Canaanites, Jews, North Africans, South Africans. They can be everything they want and more. But the question is, who are the Palestinians? Are they Arabs? So what's the difference between them and a Jordanian or an Egyptian or a Syrian? And if we establish that Palestinians are just Arabs, where in the fuck is the moral or ethical argument for creating another Arab state in the Middle East when we have 23? And where would be the justification to create another Muslim state in the Middle East or around the world when we have 52? I am yet to hear one solid argument to this question. I've posed it 100 times. It's my number one question. Nobody's been able to give me an answer that suffices. Where's the justification? It would be doing a massive fuck you to the Kurds, to the Assyrians, to the Mandeans, to the Coptic people, to the Chaldeans, to the Yazidis, to every single group living and dying in the Middle East under the boot of the Arab supremacists. You're going to say fuck you to all of you. We're going to make another Arab state in the Middle East, a brand new one that never existed in the past. We're going to create one out of thin air. I rest my case. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you long time. Goodbye, clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.